Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, "Car was mistakenly towed from my own parking spot and tow company won't release my car without paying huge storage fees." Vancouver, Washington. I own a condo that I am remodeling before renting it out again. The condo has 2 numbered parking spaces in an oversized driveway. My in-laws have been staying with us for the holidays, so we parked one of our cars, a black Land Cruiser, at the condo 2 weeks ago. Annoyingly, there was a dark red Toyota 4Runner illegally parked there. We called the tow company contracted to our property and gave them the make and model, color, plate number, and the number of the spot. They said would tow the car. We parked our Land Cruiser in our other parking spot and went home. Last night, I went to get the car and it was gone. I reported it stolen. Quite annoyingly, the red 4Runner was still there. While I was on the phone talking to the police, my wife called the tow company to confirm that they towed the car I called about 2 weeks ago. They said they did and said it was still there. They towed my car. They towed the black Land Cruiser parked in spot number 2, instead of the red 4Runner parked in spot number 1. They didn't even bother to check the plates, or the model, or the color. At the lot, they said that in order to release my car, I would have to pay the tow fees and the 2-week storage fee before they would release my car. The manager sort of acknowledged that they made an error but kept on saying that it was company policy for the fee to be paid before a release. He said they would be willing to waive the tow fee as it was their error, but I am still responsible for the storage fees, which is over $1,000. The cops said this was a civil matter and they couldn't intervene. What are my options? 1. Is there any legal action that I can do to get my car back today without paying $1,000? They screwed up, not me. I have the money, but my life is so crazy that I don't really have time to sue in small claims court and deal with that hassle plus trying to collect if I win. 2. They said if I didn't pay today, the daily fee continues to accrue. If I don't pick it up today, is there a way to stop them from continuing to charge their daily storage fee as they admitted the car was towed in error? 3. The lot has no gate. Can I just get in my truck and drive it away? They said that I would be arrested for car theft if I did. Update. I grudgingly paid the $1,000 and picked up my car that day. I filed suit in small claims court against the business and owner before Christmas. This morning I served him at his office. Actually, my neighbor's home from college daughter served him. She was surprisingly smooth doing it. I was standing in line behind her when she did it. The owner didn't know me as it was a different employee who was at the office when I was last there. I explained why I was suing him, and he was either really annoyed or didn't seem to care much. It was hard to tell. Before leaving, I handed him a letter from our condo board, of which I am a member, informing that when his contract expires at the end of February, it was not going to be renewed. It was surprisingly easy to convince my fellow board members to not renew his contract as they have heard similar complaints from other owners and guests. About an hour ago, he called me, from the number on my original request to tow, to tell me that his employee mistakenly charged me the storage fees and should have just given me my car. That was a lie because the employee called the owner when I was originally there and asked him, and it was the owner himself who told him to waive the tow fees but still charge the storage fees. I told him as much. He said his employee must have misunderstood and apologized, which I believed not at all. He offered to refund the money if I agreed to renew his contract with the property. I said that this was not going to be a quid pro quo and that he should do what he thought was right. I told him that if he refunded the around $1,000 plus the filing fee, that I would drop the lawsuit. If he didn't, I would let the court decide. As to his contract, I said that we were meeting officially next week to discuss new tow contracts, and that his company would be free to offer his services again. I did not tell him that there was no way that we were going to give him another contract. Here are my questions for this mini update. 1. If the owner gives me back the money, including the filing fee, have I actually agreed to give his company back the contract with our property? 2. If he doesn't and I end up going to court, what sort of evidence should I bring with me? 3. Is there any sort of implied extortion by offering to drop the lawsuit if he paid the money and fee, and telling him that his contract wasn't being renewed and that the board was meeting to find a new company, but that he could resubmit if he liked? The next one is titled, My neighbor falsely believes my disabled bill was being creepy, and I want to protect him. This all just happened today, and I haven't had great luck Googling, so I'm posting here to help myself and my husband calm down. My bill is physically and intellectually disabled, almost completely nonverbal, and lives with my husband and me. Our apartment complex has a small courtyard with some flower beds and a playground. My BIL's favorite thing to do after work is sit in the courtyard. He doesn't pay much attention to the kids on the playground, or anybody else in the complex. He'll say hi if they do, but that's it. He's not chatty, but he really likes the flower beds. He takes a bunch of pictures on his phone of them almost every day. We have an evening routine that includes picking one or two and deleting the rest so his phone can keep any storage space. Today when I went out to get him to tell him dinner was ready, and a woman I've seen around but never met before came over to me. She asked me if and how I knew my bill, and when I answered, she told me he'd been filming her daughters. I was super taken aback, and said I was almost certain there was a misunderstanding and that he was taking pictures of the flower beds and garden, maybe even the trees. If her daughters were in the pictures, it was probably accidental, and I said we could look at his phone together and delete any she didn't want him to keep. She said she'd seen him filming her kids before, multiple times, and that as soon as she got home, she was calling the police. She told me she only stayed as long as she did to make sure he didn't try anything with other kids. Look, I will be the first to admit my bill lacks the capacity to make the best social decisions or understand how he comes off to strangers. He doesn't look disabled, and he has definitely accidentally freaked people out before just because he's very tall and quiet and doesn't have really any social skills. But I go through his phone most nights. If I don't, my husband does, and we'd know if he were filming or photographing children on the playground. He isn't. I tried to explain this to my neighbor, but she left. I did go through my BIL's phone right after, and it was just the usual flower and tree pics. The back of one girl's head was in one photo, in the corner. I asked him if he meant to take a picture of her and he told me he meant to take a picture of the tree. I have no idea if this will blow over, or what. My husband is having a lot of anxiety about it, and I won't lie, I'm kind of stressed too. Again, I know my bill didn't intend any harm, and I know this woman is almost certainly just a well-meaning mom who didn't know what my bill was doing, but I don't want this to become a thing. Are there any steps I should take to ensure my bill is protected and this all goes smoothly, or should I want to see if anything even happens? We're in New York State. Update. Sorry for never replying to everybody's really kind, helpful advice. I'm bad at Reddit and really busy right now. I really do appreciate it. For a few days after my initial post, my husband or I would walk my bill to his usual spot after work and watch from a distance to make sure he wasn't behaving inappropriately. He might have by accident. Neither of us saw him do anything out of the ordinary. He just sat on the bench, took pictures, and looked around at the trees and flowers. He didn't watch or interact with anybody else, which is about what we expected. He's so shy. For a lot of advice, I didn't delete any of my BIL's photos for a while. This pretty quickly got to be unmanageable though, because he takes 50 to 100 pictures every day, often just the same thing again and again. But we set up a Google Drive to save them all. My husband and I also talked to Bill a lot about what to do and say if he is approached by police. He is not very verbal and very quickly gets flustered and upset in unfamiliar social situations, so we really practiced pulling out his medical alert card and being very non-threatening with his body language. My Bill is 6 feet 5 inches but has physical mannerisms a little bit like a child, so if you don't know him or why he's behaving the way he is, he can be pretty alarming. To be honest, I'm still nervous about it, but we practiced and talked about it a lot. As for my neighbor, I saw her again a few times and she ignored me. I considered bringing my Bill to meet her properly but decided I didn't want to expose him to her freaking out. About a week ago, she approached me and told me she appreciated my taking control of the situation, but that my BIL's disability was no excuse. I said no excuse for what? And she said for filming and photographing children. I considered pointing out that it isn't illegal to do that, as you guys did, but that would sound like he is doing it, so I just told her that she isn't doing that. She threatened to call the cops again but so far nothing's come of it. I'm keeping an eye out. In any case, it's getting colder, and my Bill is spending less time just hanging out. He's also really happy to come with me to doctor's appointments, and I'm currently pregnant, so we've had a lot of those. My neighbor started saying something about how I'd understand if I was a mother. I'm not showing yet, but I really considered telling her I was pregnant just to shut her up. But that's needlessly combative. Thanks again to everyone's kind advice. Husband and I are currently working with Bill on responses he should give if that neighbor or anybody else approaches him while he's nature photographing. Oh, and thank you to the person in Best of Legal Advice who suggested a botanical garden. We've driven to a few different ones now and it's really nice. Thanks. Update 2. To recap. In September, a neighbor accused my mentally and physically disabled brother-in-law, who lives with my husband and I, of photographing and taking videos of her children. I tried to clear up the misunderstanding. He never did this but was met with mostly hostility. Issue died down in the last month-ish. So, I'm a little bit freaked out. My bill hasn't been sitting outside as much since my last update, because it's gotten colder and because he's been my doctor buddy and we've been busy with holiday stuff and a lot else. Also, the weather here has been abysmal. But we've had a few days where he has sat out, and on those days if he does see the family with the mom who doesn't like him, he always tells me or my husband about it. He saw them this week, Tuesday I think, and told us. Today, I got a text from my landlord about it. I'm just going to copy-paste it all here. Hey, husband and I just talked to neighbor on the 6 floors. She says your brother has been watching and bothering her 2 kids since the summer. She says she talked about it with you and the issue was resolved but it's happening again. She says she doesn't want any pictures of her kids and if it continues, she will call police. Tell your brother to leave these kids alone or police will be called. I don't know what's happening, but neighbor is extremely upset. Let me know if you have questions. Merry Christmas. I haven't replied yet, I got this text about 2 hours ago. I don't know what to say. My husband is very upset, he's really protective of his brother and they have both had very, very bad interactions with police before. Long story, when they were younger, in their hometown. I'm just overwhelmed. I really don't want this to become some kind of huge deal but also don't want to ban my bill from his own yard because of this woman. I want to move forward in a way that will definitely keep my bill safe legally and personally. A few things that might be relevant. I or my husband look at every single photo my bill takes on his phone. This was something we did before all this, because he takes hundreds and we have to delete some, and something we do now. He does not know how to delete photos or rather, periodically forgets how, or at least if he does, he has hidden this from his family for no reason. If he'd photographed these kids, we'd know. He is not fully nonverbal, but I have never, ever heard him talk to a stranger beyond maybe a few words, maybe. The chances of him talking to these kids or their mother, especially without me or my husband there, are beyond tiny. My bill is legally an adult, 24 years old, and my husband is his legal guardian and has been since 2012. The last time I posted you all were incredibly helpful and empathetic. I might be freaking out a little here. Bill and husband are both super anxious and it's catching, but I really want to protect my Bill. He would never hurt anyone. I know I can never be sure what happens that I don't witness, but I know my Bill. Thank you all in advance for everything. My biggest question is this. How should I reply to my landlord? What else can I do to protect my Bill? To reply to a concern lots of people raised last time, my husband and I have talked to my Bill a lot and practiced how he can respond if he is approached by police. But I still worry and want to avoid it. Especially because he has so much anxiety attached to police officers. Update final. Here's hoping this is my last one. Thank you again to everyone who has been so thoughtful and helpful and made good, kind suggestions even when I was in a total panic. Also, Happy New Year. So, I texted back my landlord explaining as much of the situation as I could and emphasizing that my brother-in-law had never photographed the kids and explaining the way the situation with my neighbor had played out. I heard back a couple days later, and my landlord's answer was basically thank you for the update, there's not much I can do with this for either of you. I also reached out to several friends and friends of friends who work in disability advocacy about how to best go about making the local cops aware of who my Bill is and his situation. A friend got me in contact with a woman who advocates for intellectually disabled people in legal situations and she and I have been talking a lot. We were going to take Bill to meet some officers in our local precinct Saturday, but my Bill got too anxious. I feel really bad about it, because I wasted some people's time and should have known Bill would be too tired to handle it well. We're gonna try to go back weekend after next and hopefully my husband will be able to come. We've also put a copy of my BIL's medic alert card on the back of his phone in a clear case and practiced how he should show it to people and when. It's a tough situation but we're faring forward. We're moving in June, so this particular person shouldn't be an issue for too very much longer. Thank you again, sincerely, to everyone here and in best of legal advice who commented so thoughtfully and compassionately. Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks for listening.